Episode 17, Assassination. Master Mo was huffing from anger.
So what if the parents ask about it? He's the lowest level teacher. No one is going to be shocked that he can't answer their questions,
he thought to himself.
So in order to put on a show, you came here to view the level 5 cultivation technique. If that isn't being hypocritical and vain, then what is?
He paused for a moment and then continued thinking.
Tomorrow, I will look for the principal and have this out-of-touch asshole expelled.
Master Mo's mind had been made up. After all, letting such a vain and ignorant teacher who was unable to cultivate properly continue teaching would just sully the reputation of the academy. Xavier didn't know that his previous 2 meetings with Master Mo had placed him in the line of fire for expulsion. If he had been aware of the situation, he probably wouldn't have known whether to burst into laughter or weep in tears. Little did Master Mo know, however, that he really had reached such an impressive level. Xavier had to keep learning. He couldn't possibly stop training due to his lack of cultivation techniques. Quickly, he found the last row of the cultivation technique section. Even the most famous and powerful teacher in the academy was fighter level 5. The moment one broke through into level 6 insight realm, they would automatically become a master in the academy. This was only the teacher compendium pavilion, so there weren't any records on the level 6 cultivation techniques. Thus, the level 5 cultivation techniques were placed on the very last shelf. There are significantly less level 5 manuals than level 4. There were around 2,000 to 3,000 cultivation technique manuals on level 4, whereas there were only 1,000 on level 5. However, it made sense to Xavier when he thought about it. No matter the situation, the higher one climbed, the scarcer the resources. Although the academy had been present for a long time, there were significantly less level 5 resources than level 4. As a result, the cultivation techniques and notes they left behind would be fewer as well. Shaking his head, he decided not to contemplate over such matters. Xavier casually took out a book and flipped through it. Around an hour later, the 1,000 cultivation technique manuals had been browsed through, and the Library of Heaven's Path had compiled corresponding books to the manuals. After receiving what he wanted, Xavier smiled faintly and bid Master Mo farewell before leaving. Seeing how he was randomly flipping and viewing the books, not even stopping for a moment, Master Mo couldn't help but chastise him yet again in his mind. Returning back to his living quarters, Xavier yet again searched for the correct phrases and paragraphs within the 1,000 books. As he expected, not too much later, the library compiled the 1,000 books into a single one. This time, the book wasn't nameless. Rather, it had 4 big words written on it. Heaven's Path, Divine Art. He started to cultivate again. Fighter level 5 Constancy realm was an extension of the Speed realm. The purpose of this realm was simple. It was to temper the gleam of the cultivator to their body. The difference in strength between each stage in Constancy realm was mainly due to the level of compatibility between one's gleam and their body. The greater their compatibility, the more strength one could exert. Reading the cultivation method for the Constancy realm in the Heaven's Path Divine Art, Xavier focused his attention. He carefully controlled the crystal clear gleam in his aura to slowly flow through his body, going at a fixed rhythm to allow it to merge completely with his body. Heaven's Path Divine Art was worthy of being a cultivation technique compiled by the advantages of over a few thousand secret manuals. The efficiency of the cultivation method was indeed one to behold. His gleam and muscles swiftly merged together as one. As a result, the strength of his body and the compatibility of his gleam soared up exponentially. Constancy Realm Primary Stage, Constancy Realm Intermediate Stage, Constancy Realm Advanced Stage, Constancy Realm Pinnacle. After 4 hours, his body jolted again. Xavier opened his eyes. He was in disbelief. Fighter level 5 Pinnacle? Initially, he thought it would take a while to cultivate in level 5. Never in his wildest dreams did he possibly imagine that he could reach the pinnacle in 4 hours through the Heaven's Path Divine Art. To his previous self, cultivation was as difficult as trying to ascend to the heavens. Yet, to Xavier, who was practicing the Heaven's Path Divine Art, it was as easy as breathing. Just by half a night's worth of effort, he had risen from Fighter Level 3 Gleam Realm to Fighter Level 5 Constancy Realm Pinnacle. It was insane. If it wasn't for the fact that he didn't know the cultivation method for Level 6, unaware of which acupoint he should break through, he might have already successfully broken through to become a Level 6 Insight Realm expert. In Level 6 Insight Realm, cultivators open up all the blocked acupoints in their body. For every acupoint broken through, one's gleam would become richer and one's power would level up. It was said that there were 108 acupoints in the human body. However, only 72 of those could be opened, and there was an order to opening it. Everyone's body was different. Thus, everyone would require a different sequence in breaking through each of them to obtain the best results. If one was unable to find the correct sequence, they could possibly end up only opening 3 to 4 acupoints and be stuck there for the rest of their lives. This was just like cleaning the silt by a river. It had to be cleaned gradually from the upper stream to the lower stream. If one were to start at the center and clean towards the upper and lower stream, not only would the river not be cleaned thoroughly, but it might also result in a blockage, halting any further progress. The same logic went for breaking through one's acupoints as well. If one didn't find the ideal sequence, the other acupoints might get blocked, and for the rest of their lives, they would be unable to open it. Without a cultivation technique, Xavier didn't dare try to cultivate further. However, he wasn't anxious. It was unheard of to break through 2 great realms in a single night. Therefore, he was already pretty pleased with himself. Unless required, it is best for me not to reveal my level of cultivation, he said aloud to himself. As a transcender, he had read numerous books and watched many shows. He knew that possessing the treasure itself was a crime. He was the worst teacher in the entire academy. Yet, in a night, he had suddenly gained the strength of a fighter level 5 pinnacle. If others were to find out, wouldn't they all swarm him? It was best for him to not tell anyone about reaching the Constancy Realm pinnacle. The more confidential it was, the better it was for him. Let me see how much strength I hold this time. Xavier walked over to the strength measuring rock pillar. While other people only possess 1 cauldron of strength in their Constancy primary stage, he possessed 5 cauldron. If so, how much strength would he hold now that he had reached the pinnacle? Light flew through the rock pillar, and numbers appeared on it. 8 cauldron. 8 cauldron of strength? That is almost the strength of an Insight Realm expert who has opened 4 acupoints. Xavier couldn't believe it. His eyes were wide. A normal Constancy Pinnacle cultivator would possess 4 cauldron of strength, after which, for each acupoint they break through, their strength would increase by 1 cauldron. Despite just being at Constancy Pinnacle, he possessed the strength of 8 cauldron, putting him on the same level as an expert who had broken through 4 acupoints. Xavier was quite happy. As expected of the Heaven's Path divine art. Incredible! After training for such a long period of time, he intended to find something to eat and then go to sleep. However, his ears suddenly twitched. Xavier frowned. Why would someone be here at such a time? Due to an advancement in his cultivation, his hearing and sight had improved tremendously. He was able to clearly perceive the sound of someone hiding somewhere not too far from him, staring fixedly at his living quarters. Looks like he is surveying my room. He probably has yet to detect my presence. In that moment, Xavier wasn't in his room. Rather, he was behind the strength-measuring rock pillar, which was a distance away from the dormitory. After measuring his strength, he had been suppressing his breathing. Therefore, the other party had yet to notice his presence. Let's see who's trying to find trouble with me. He hadn't expected that someone would want to deal with him right after he was done cultivating. The doubts in his mind grew. Rummaging through the memories of his previous self, although he didn't have much luck, there hadn't been a scenario where someone had snuck into his room in the night to cause trouble. Just when he was about to meet the intruder, a thought suddenly flashed through his mind. No matter who he is, I can't let him identify me. The entire academy knew that he was a fighter level 3 Gleam Realm trash. If he were to appear at this moment as a level 5 pinnacle, it would raise alarms for the intruder. Furthermore, if the news were to spread, there would surely be quite a few people who would investigate him. He suddenly recalled some movies he had watched back in his previous life. A solution dawned on him. He tore a piece of fabric from his sleeves and covered his face, making use of the darkness of the night. Xavier gradually crept towards the other party with light footsteps. Although he had just broken through, despite having never studied any footwork, the cultivation technique he was training with was the Heaven's Path divine art, which granted him superb control over his body. Not to mention, he was very familiar with his surroundings, so the other party didn't notice him even when he was just 30 feet behind him. At such a proximity, he could clearly see the black suit donned by the intruder. However, his face was also covered, so Xavier couldn't make out his identity. Hiding behind a large tree, Xavier stared at the silhouette. Suddenly, he heard mutterings from the intruder vaguely drifting towards his ears.
Lad, if you must blame someone, blame your guts to dare lay your hands on our young mistress.
That voice sounds familiar. Xavier's eyebrows furrowed. He was sure that he had heard this voice before. However, he had difficulty recalling exactly when and where he had heard it. Just as he was trying his best to recall whether it was the memory of his previous self or after he had transcended, the silhouette flickered, gradually moving towards his dormitory. At the same time, with a flick of his wrist, a cold gleam shone, and a sharp dagger appeared in his hand.